This is Derek Stingley Jr., and you're watching the Jboy Show.
Welcome to the Jboy Show, hosted by Jake Crain, the fastest growing sports show in the nation.
I'm Coach Hugh Freeze.
This is Super Bowl champion Brandon Graham.
Hey, this is DJ Shockley, and you're watching.
And thanks for watching the Jboy Show.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Jboy Show. Got some great content with one of, if not the best DBs in the country, Mr. Derek Stingley Jr. right here. Derek, first off, I appreciate you taking some time, and you were looking Louisiana fly in that suit, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much.
Definitely. Well, the first thing I want to talk about is your mindset as a DB. You used to tell my guys all the time, it's us against the world, but I'll take us. When you're out there with your squad, with Eli, now you got Major and all these guys, how confident are you in the guys around you so you can do what you can do in man coverage, which I know you like, Derek?
I'm very confident. Whenever I look around, see all my safeties, ready to fly around and hit something, ready to go get a ball, it just makes me feel safe out there, because it makes me feel like I can take chances on certain things because I know they're going to be there to help. And when I look on the opposite side of the field, see Elias, I know he going to lock down over there on his own island. And most times I have Cordell Flight at nickel right next to me. I know he's like my brother. I'm gonna help him out whenever I can, and he gonna help me out. So.
Yeah. Well, that's a special triangle: corner, nickel, and safety right there, man. It is. But going into this year and the little time I got you, I know you guys are excited to get back. What does it feel like to be an older guy? You've watched the older guys. You've been through it. This ain't the NBA. You ain't one and done. Yeah. So now that you've gone through it and you're a leader, how does that feel to you? How excited are you to be able to go out there and not just ball, but to be able to command the troops as well?
It's crazy because it went by fast. Like I remember first getting here, but I'm glad to help out the young cats that's with us now. We got a couple corners who just came in, and they're learning from us every day. So.
Yeah. How excited are you about going to LA and showing your skills, man, out there? And you say that some people think that's the upper corner of Lower Alabama. No, it's not. That's UCLA out there in Cali. How excited are you about that?
Yeah, I'm very excited because it's first game back. Fans gonna be there, hopefully, and I see it as an opportunity to show the whole country what LSU has to bring this year.
Exactly. My last question for you, what do you got to say to LSU fans out there? I know everybody's excited. You talk about full capacity, stuff like that. What are they going to see on the field from not only the defense but from the team? I had Austin Deculus here. I know y'all are close, man. I know that locker room's tight. What can LSU fans expect?
They can expect us to have a lot of chemistry. They're going to see us having fun out there on the field, and hopefully they get to see LSU as one of the top teams in the country again.
Definitely. Well, shoot, they got you guys out there. I'm betting on it. But appreciate you, man. Appreciate you guys joining us. You're not going to find this content anywhere else. For Derek Stingley Jr., we're locking down the podcast game and the wide receivers you throw out at us. It's another edition of the Jboy Show. Let's win the water cooler. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Jboy Show. Very excited to have a dominant offensive lineman from LSU, Mr. Austin Deculus, is excited about the year. Austin, number one, I appreciate you joining us, bro.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. Hey, any opportunity, I'll take it.
Hey, definitely, man. Just for a second before we get into the ball, coming to media days, how are you enjoying it, man? We are the first interview on Radio Row for you right now?
First one on Radio Row today. Overall, is the experience. I'm beyond thankful. Just being able to be, me and Coach O, Coach O, Derek Stingley, we're talking on the way here. We're each one of the three guys that get to just represent a prestigious university like LSU, what LSU is. And I'm just taking it in full, being extremely thankful for everything. So.
Yeah, and looking at you guys this year, a ton of talent from across the board. Offense, defense, you mentioned Derek Stingley and these guys. In that locker room, you guys seem pretty close together. How close is this team in that locker room? Because you know as well as I do, Austin, that play is important on 4th and 1, my friend.
It's the closest thing. We're the closest thing for a family that you can be without taking a DNA test, I feel. We're brothers. We're brothers of everything. We're brothers of the soul. We're brothers of everything from football. And the only thing that's tying us that's maybe different is if you take a blood test, we're not going to have the same DNA besides that Tiger DNA, but that's about it. But yeah, it's just an overall just close-knit family group.
Yeah, and when I look at you guys and this year with all the talent you have, how excited are you playing your position, be playing next to the guys on the offensive line and playing under now, if you look at, Jake Peets and DJ and all them, I know that offense has got to be really exciting for you guys.
It's amazing. You have all, like you said, you have everybody on the offensive line coming back. You have great, DJ was with us 2019 season, then he came back. Coach Peets, knows what he's doing. He's going to be in that same type Joe Brady offense, being able to have everyone, playmakers, make plays in space. But it's like the stars are aligning, for something special, and we're going to have to see. So,
how excited are you about going out to L.A. for Game 1?
Never been to California. The farthest I've ever been on the West Coast, I went to Oregon. I went to Beaverton, Oregon for the Nike opening. Okay. But that's about it. But other than that, I went to Phoenix just for bowl games. The only time I've traveled that way is because of football opportunities. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to California, though. I think I got the hair down for a Cali boy.
Yeah.
So.
For sure. I mean, I'm sure Coach Orgeron don't want you out there catching waves, but I'm sure you'd be fine if you could.
Never will. Never a wave catcher, for sure.
Last question for you. To all the LSU fans out there getting ready for the season, what do you say to them about what you guys are going to bring to the park every day?
We're going to, for all the LSU fans, not only the great state of Louisiana, where a lot of them are located. This is a shout out to all the LSU fans that range from coast to coast, because Tiger Nation runs deep, runs all over the world, all over the globe, all over this great state. But really, we're gonna play that LSU standard performance like we have been, and we're just gonna make y'all proud.
Definitely. Well, man, I really appreciate taking some time. We'll get a picture real quick, brother. We got to get you back on. Congrats on all the success, my friend. Definitely. We appreciate you guys checking out the Jboy Show. We're trying to road grade the way that Austin and his boys do on that offensive line down there at LSU. Remember, go to jboyshow.com, grab some of that merch. You got to look good to play good, look good to podcast good, and look good to win the water cooler, baby. Panda Watch, Day 4. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome back to the Jboy Show. Excited to bring you another great segment here from Radio Row at SEC Media Days. Excited to be joined by, after further review, ESPN Baton Rouge, doer of many things, Mr. Matt Moscona. Matty Ice, what's up, my friend?
Well, I'm a lover of all things Anchorman, so that was a brilliant start. Work on the vocal exercises. Unique New York. Yes. Unique New York. Yes.
The arsonist had oddly shaped feet. Speaking about oddly shaped feet, looking at some of the offenses coming in this SEC season that last year were a little bit odd, and the past few years have been odd. Looking at Kentucky, hiring Liam Cohen as the OC, guy from the Rams organization, getting Will Levis, who we keep talking about all these transfers, but nobody's talking about Will Levis, the Penn State transfer to Kentucky. Anything they get from the passing game is going to be icing on the cake. When you look at the East, do you think, and Georgia obviously is the favorite, do you think Kentucky has a chance to kind of get up in that second tier this year and maybe even surpass Florida?
Is the second tier just Florida right now?
Basically.
It's got to be, really. Mark Stoops is probably the most understated, successful coach in the SEC right now because of the longevity there and actually making Kentucky somewhat relevant. I tell you, from an LSU perspective, they're leery about going to Lexington this year. LSU's always kind of struggled there. It's a sandwich game right between home games against Auburn and Florida. So I think there is some apprehension. But the Will Levis question's a really good one. I mean, you're talking about a Kentucky team that nearly approached double-digit wins with a wide receiver playing quarterback, so it's fair to say what happens if you actually have a quarterback playing quarterback.
No, it's going to be really interesting, and again, it's tough to prepare for a guy in a league that you haven't seen. Being the OC, the element of a surprise is a real thing. That's why sometimes first-year coaches that inherit good personnel tend to have success. I want to stay in the East. We're going to get to the West. We're going to talk some LSU in a second. But looking at Georgia, I keep talking about it. I do think this is the best roster that they have. Do you think that Kirby Smart will be the first former Saban assistant to beat him?
Yes, but not this year. Okay. I think Kirby's got the best chance long term, unless if you talk about Kiffin potentially. But I'm interested about JT Daniels, and I'm interested to see if Kirby actually lets the offense breathe. Mm-hmm. And if he does, and if they can find enough weapons on the outside, then yeah, they got a really good shot. I think they're the only one with a shot in the East. But man, look, until Nick Saban is beaten, I'm never going to pick him to lose, especially in one of the. It's my whole thing is I think Nick Saban has made a deal with the devil. I think he's going to win 300 championships, and in the year 2476, midfield of Bryant-Dennehy Stadium is going to open up, and Saban is going to be sucked into the depths of hell for all eternity. But he's going to torture all of mankind until that moment, and that includes Kirby Smart this year.
So when Alabama makes the SEC championship game, is that what the Devil Went Down to Georgia song was really about?
I never thought of it like that, but that's why you get to wear that shirt and hold that mic, because that is really good.
Hey, I appreciate it. We try, but looking at the West, Matt, obviously not betting against Saban is something we've talked about a lot. But when you look at the talent that LSU has, because again, they always have talent. You look at last year was kind of an aberration. When you look at this Max Johnson and Miles Brennan situation, what do you think going forward? Are we going to get a kind of a Jalen Hurts-Tua situation this year from LSU?
Jalen Hurts-Tua, I think the difference is Hurts was already established.
Yep.
He'd already been to a national championship game.
True.
And Tua was the 5-star that was so good you just couldn't justify keeping him off of the field. I don't know that these two are at that level. Tua, we all knew was going to be an elite level quarterback that was going to be a high NFL draft pick. I don't know that either of these LSU guys are going to be that. I don't know if their ceiling is that high. But if you're just talking about the dynamic of playing two guys, I do think that's what's going to happen. I do think both guys are going to warrant playing time, and you're going to have a very uncomfortable situation if one guy's not playing well, putting the other on the field. Ed went through this actually, last year with the two freshmen, but in 2017, his first full season, he had a freshman, Miles Brennan, and a veteran in Danny Etling. Now, Danny was never going to be an All-American caliber player, but he was the guy that wasn't going to make a mistake to get you beat. So I'm curious to see how Ed, with Jake Peets running this offense, how he's going to juggle those two quarterbacks. But I think Miles Brennan takes the first snap against UCLA, but I think both guys play and both guys play all year.
Yeah, and whenever you have that situation, and I understand that if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. In today's offense, there is a way to get away with it a little bit. I'm very interested to see, number one, because it's hard to punish Miles. I mean, he got hurt. That's what happened. But then you look at that new offense with Peets, it's a very interesting dynamic, and I'm interested to see how Ed Orgeron handles it. But looking at the rest of the West, looking at A&M, for the next 5 years, is A&M one of the scariest teams in the SEC? Because if you look at the way Jimbo's recruiting, the talent he's amassing, especially up front, it's pretty impressive. And if they can get some good quarterback play, I mean, A&M could be right there again.
Dude got Christian Ponder and E.J. Manuel selected in the first round of the draft.
That's a great point.
That is a terrifying thought. Yeah. And he has recruited exceptionally well. I don't think necessarily this A&M team is the one that I would expect to be a national contender, but I understand where Vegas has their number. Because if you look at their cross-divisionals from the East, you're going to get Missouri and South Carolina. They do have to come to Baton Rouge, but they get Alabama at home. A lot of it makes sense why A&M is projected where they are. I'm going to be very curious. You turn over 4 starters on your offensive line. You lose your 4-year starter at quarterback. Like, how much can they actually replace those pieces and be elite this year? I'm a little skeptical on A&M as far as it being a contender, but I think the win total will be high. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to say like a hollow 9 or 10 win team or 10 win, but it kind of feels like it could be that this year.
Yeah, and again, they do have a lot of young talent on that team. The battle between Haynes King and Zach Calzada is a very interesting one. Got to talk about Auburn and Brian Harsin for a second, one of the new hires. When you look at what Brian Harsin can bring with Mike Bobo, with Derek Mason, what do you expect from Auburn year one and Bo Nix?
Whose offense is it?
I think it's, from what I have been told, and you know me, I'm very lucky. Cornelius Williams, shout out Corn, Auburn's wide receiver coach. It's my boy. Air mattress in the GA office, man. We grinded it out at South Alabama. Go Jags, shout it out. But I really believe it's going to be Mike Bobo's offense from what I've been told. If it's Mike Bobo's offense, how do you see Auburn doing year one?
So is that what we saw at South Carolina? I mean, all right.
They did lead the conference in passing at Colorado State. I think it's just a personnel thing.
So here's the thing, right? Not knowing, like, deeply invested in what's going on in the inner workings at Auburn, yeah. I just look at some logistics here. Okay, so you have Bo Nix, who functionally is a very different quarterback than TJ Finley.
Yes.
But the head coach went and brought in TJ Finley. I also look at Harsin at Arkansas State and at Boise. When he got there, he inherited mobile quarterbacks that were either his first or second leading rusher in year one. As he moved on in those jobs, he deferred to a quarterback that was more of a pocket passer and not running. Well, that's TJ Finley. So is Bo Nix the guy this year because he's more established, but eventually they want to get to Finley? I could see that if you just look at history with Brian Harsin.
Yeah.
So I think Auburn's going to be one of the really interesting ones because the two quarterbacks you have are nothing alike. Yeah. Like, saw TJ Finley last year at LSU, monster arm. I think he was the best arm talent of any of the quarterbacks at LSU, but he ain't running. I mean, if you want that dimension in your offense, it's not going to exist with TJ Finley.
Yeah. No, it's that's a great point, and to me, it's kind of does give you a look to the future. And if you look at Auburn commit Holden Gariner, he's not a runner, the 4-star. He's a more pro-style guy. I mean, he's a little bit mobile, but not nearly what Bo Nix is. Matt, great stuff, man. Tell everybody where they can find your content. It's really great stuff. Had a great time having a couple cold sodas with you.
It's your fault, by the way, that I have bags under my eyes. I'm fiending for coffee right now. Blame you.
Hey, look, that's fine. That's fine. I'm used to it.
And if you can spell my last name, you can find me on the internet. There's a lot of vowels, but maybe you can put it on the screen. MOSCONA Cona. No one will ever pronounce it correctly. I don't care. But if you spell it right, you can find me somewhere.
Matt, I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks so much. Hey, what's up, everybody? We got another great interview from the Jboy Show live here at Radio Row and SEC Media Days. We've had T-Bob Hebert. Might as well get another LSU fantastic player, had a great career in the league. You can catch him on Off the Bench now. That's ESPN 104.5 in Baton Rouge. Mr. Jacob Hester, a.k.a. Double Pits to Hesty. What's up, my friend?
What's going on, man? Always a pleasure to come on the Jboy Show. Even we're going to get the Twitter jail thing figured out.
Dude.
It's a whole mess. They can't keep my boy down, though.
No. And, it'd be one thing if we said something nefarious or, broke a rule. I understand that. But we got hacked, and if you're Twitter, you can just look in there and realize my language got changed to Turkish. I have a better chance of speaking Elvish than Turkish. So I just don't understand why they can't see it. They're working on it right now. I've gotten, a bunch of responses back.
And by the time we're done, they'll have it figured out.
Oh, right. The second media day ends, it'll be back. But you know what? I just want it back. Twitter support. I mean, come on, let's go, guys. I know y'all are working hard. But anyways, speaking about support, looking at LSU this year, coming off, last year, and again, a lot of crazy stuff happening. You had all the opt-outs. I think it was 19 guys from that team were off of it, draft, opt-outs, whatever, leaving, whatever. Now you look at this team, and there's so much talent there, and I'm a firm believer in LSU does better as the outsider, and all this outside stuff that's happened, I feel like it kind of plays into Ed O's strengths from a motivation. It's us against the world standpoint.
Yeah, and Coach O doesn't try to run away from what the expectation is for LSU this year. So many coaches would say, hey, remember 2019, and try to trick you, right? Yeah. Shaking his hand over here. Coach O doesn't do that. In fact, we interview him every Tuesday on our show, and he almost doesn't like to talk about it because he's like, look, that happened 2 years ago. We got to worry about this team. He does a really nice job of being self-aware of what the LSU job is and the expectations that come with it. And that's why you see him make wholesale changes on the staff. Yeah. That's why you go see you got 2 new offensive coordinators and a passing game coordinator and then an offensive coordinator and Jake Peets. You've got Durante Jones, really the whole defensive staff outside of Corey Raymond, right? That changes, and he realizes that. He realized what they did a year ago did not work, right? Bo Pelini's coached a lot of great football in college football, but that was a long time ago, right?
Get out of man, Bo.
That kind of – Mississippi State, what? PTSD.
Yeah.
But, he realized that just did not work out. A lot of coaches kind of sit on that. They're like, I'm going to make my hire work. I'm going to show you. I'm going to prove it. He doesn't do that. He's like, no, look, we got to move. We got to do a different direction, and I think that's one of his strengths.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And looking, everybody talks offense, and I do. We talk about Max and Miles and all this and the offensive line and the wide receiver core, which I think, Keyshawn Boutte is the most underrated wide receiver in the country coming in this year, in my opinion. But looking at the defense, you return Stingley, you return Ricks. I mean, you just look around, you get Major Burns, a big transfer, even though that name is tough to play in the secondary. But again, could use it, in his favor. But I look up front, and when I think of LSU football, I think of defensive linemen that, for lack of a better term, will get after your ass. Yeah. And when you sign a guy like Mason Smith, who is a 5-star defensive tackle, and he's your third-string D tackle, you got some dudes up front, Hesty.
Yeah, and they've got some 6-year seniors, guys that took that extra year of eligibility because of the pandemic. I mean, they got Glenn Logan, they got Neil Farrell, they've got Jaquelin Roy, who was a star last year at the end of the year. He was a 5-star guy the year before. They've got some real guys up front and really in that interior, right? You're talking about defensive tackles. They do go 3D. They've got 6 guys that if they play, you feel really good about them, okay? They've got some ends at Ali Gay, who last year he was a great pass rusher, struggled in the run game. You could see him get better in the run game at the end of the year. So they've got that part of it covered. Where you're a little worried about is the linebacker position, right? They struggled at that position. And there's a guy like Damone Clark. Damone Clark in 2019 flashed, right? Well, he got with Bo Pelini in that defense, and he just was not the same player. Now, can he be the player that he was in 2019? That's a question. Mike Baskerville wasn't with the team this spring. Will he be back? Because he played the best of the group last year, and you get a big-time transfer in Mike Jones from Clemson. Look, that's a guy that started in a college football playoff game, had an interception in that game. He was playing more of a nickel linebacker in Clemson's system. He wants to prove that he can be a middle linebacker in the SEC. So you've got some candidates, but that position has to improve.
What's that linebacker's name again?
Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones.
Who?
Mike Jones.
Nice. Well done there, Hesty. And as we're winding down here, I do got to ask you, I'm looking at this SEC West. And, I mean, when you played, the SEC West was freaking good. From top to bottom, I don't see a team that I'm like, they're the Vandy in the West. Right. And that's I guess it is a shot at Vandy, but, you got to prove it. All the way from Mississippi State up to Alabama, even though I do believe that Alabama, we know the talent that Saban's recruited, and they replace guys with really good guys. I feel like the gap is kind of narrowing a little bit this year just because of what they have to replace at Alabama. Do you feel like the West is as deep as it's been in a while?
Yeah, I think so, because we don't really know what we're going to get from Mississippi State. Like, we have no idea, good or bad, right? Mike Leach has always improved in his second year wherever he's been, right? So there could be some big improvements. Like, he weeded out the roster of guys he didn't want on there, right, wrong, or indifferent last year, right? So this is going to be more of his team. Lane Kiffin, we've talked about so many times, just be better on defense.
Yeah.
Just be a little bit better.
Get a couple turnovers, man.
Yeah, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you like where they're at. A&M, you don't know who the quarterback's going to be, but, man, Isaiah Spiller might be the best back in the country. I mean, he is an absolute stud. So you feel good about where they're at. LSU's going to bounce back. I agree with you from top to bottom. Now, the one team is Auburn. I have no clue who Auburn is. I don't know what their identity is. I don't know what they're going to be.
That's typically when they win.
You're right, under Gus.
Yeah.
But, like, Mike Bobo coming in, like, how is that going to work? Like, Mike Bobo, 2010 Mike Bobo with Aaron Murray in Georgia, like, he was doing his thing, right? But is he going to change up from what he did a year ago, right? It was a little vanilla, and that's me saying that. You know I love a good 21 personnel, I-formation fullback.
Lived in it, baby.
Even for me, that was a little vanilla. Was that because of his personnel? Yeah. Right, you go get Colin Hill from Colorado State. You absolutely played last year safe. Because if not, Ryan Helinski would have been the quarterback.
And again, and not to cut you off, but you look outside of Shi Smith and Kevin Harris, Marshawn Lloyd goes down with ACL. There was nobody on that roster. Muse, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good tight end, but he's more of a flex. I mean, he's not even really a tight end. So, okay, was it because of the personnel, or is that who Mike Bobo is now, right? That's going to be a big question. Bo Nix, poor guy. I mean, how many coordinators is he going to have?
Jason Campbell all over again.
You're exactly right. So, look, Tank Bigsby's your guy. Look, the game plan should surround him, not Bo Nix, right? That's no diss to Bo Nix. I mean, I think Tank Bigsby is one of the best in the conference. You have to, though, be more exciting than you were at South Carolina a year ago, or you'll get beat.
That's exactly right. But Hesty, it's always great stuff, man. Make sure you check out Off the Bench. Tell everybody where they can find your social media as well. We're always collabing, but I got to get you to drop it here for your boy.
Yeah, check it out, OTB ESPN on Twitter. Also, Jacob Hester 18. Used to be Jacob Hester 22, but Peter Burns made fun of me, so it's Jacob Hester 18 now.
Peanut butter jelly. Where is Peter? Is Peter here?
Oh, he's in the high rise upstairs.
Oh, that's probably right. He's playing like Mahjong with Saban and Mullen and all that stuff. But no, man, I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys as well. Make sure you don't unfollow the Jboy Show account. We're going to get that hack fixed, but make sure you're following at Jboy Notes, Twitter support. Let's make like a mathematician and figure it out, friends. It's Jboy Show. Let's win the water cooler.
The Jboy Show is produced by David Cohn, technical director Dave Hammock, creative director David Culbertson, audio engineer Feyzan Shareef, production assistants Blaine Crain and Kyle Orr, executive producers Jake Crain, Vince Thompson, Steve Chamberlain, and David Cohn. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit our website, thejboyshow.com, for updates regarding our newest apparel and merch designs. Win the water cooler with the Jboy Show.